And the state of Massachusetts came in and said, okay, that's great, but you're not allowed to be Christian anymore. If you do this thing that your faith has impelled you to do, you have to stop being Christian or we're going to take your kids away. Foster parents in Massachusetts told by the government, you're going to lose your kids because you're Christian. Here is the local news report.
Christian faith, it really drives us toward that. James says that true undefiled religion is to care for the fatherless.
The Woburn couple reconfigured their home to care for 8 foster children, including a baby with complex medical needs, for 15 months.
Every night for 15 months, we were up at least three times.
Yeah. That's in addition to their own 3 kids. And they were ready to keep going until Massachusetts Department of Children and Families pulled their license last spring. Foster family must accept a child's assertion of their LGBTQIA+ identity, address children by their names and pronouns, and support gender-neutral practices regarding clothes and physical appearance.
We had asked, is there any sort of accommodation? Can you waive this at all? We will absolutely love and support and care for any child in our home, but we simply can't agree to go against our Christian faith in this area. And we're ultimately told, no, you must sign the form as is, or else you will be delicensed.
Do you see the irony here too? The reason that they took these kids in, these are foster parents. These aren't parents who are adopting newborn babies. There are about 34 couples who want to adopt a newborn baby for every newborn baby put up for adoption. Demand vastly outstrips supply. If we're talking about the market, as we now do, I guess, for newborn babies. For foster parents, younger kids, teenagers who are in orphanages and state institutions who then go to live with it. Supply vastly outstrips demand. Okay, so this couple says, we are Christian, and because of our Christian faith, we feel called to do what most people don't want to do, and that is take in these kids who need a home. We're going to do that. And the state of Massachusetts came in and said, okay, that's great, but you're not allowed to be Christian anymore. Good, yeah, you can do that. But if you do this thing that your faith has impelled you to do, you have to stop being Christian or we're going to take your kids away. Because it's not possible to be Christian and affirm the LGBT identity. You can't do it. I know there are all sorts of flavors of religion that identify as Christian. They call themselves Christian, but the church's teaching on this subject in particular is pretty clear going back about 2,000 years. You just can't have it. Can't do it. So they say, well, we're not going to renounce our faith for anything. But it's particularly crazy to renounce our faith in order to do the thing that our faith has impelled us to do. Massachusetts says, okay, too bad. And we'll go find some gay couple to give the kids to. Sorry, we're not going to allow the kids to be raised Christian. That's what the state of Massachusetts is saying. We will not allow foster children to be raised in a Christian household, which is obviously religious discrimination. And beyond religious discrimination, it's obviously wrong. all sorts of ideas they call themselves religion. Some true, some false. But in this case, it's so obviously wrong. You have to raise a kid in an LGBT LMNOP household or affirming household. Can't raise them in a Christian household. That's crazy. What this reveals, though, is the absurdity of the left's argument when they accuse us of trying to enforce our morality on others. Why do you care? Why do you care? That's what they always say. I actually really enjoyed going on the show. I was on Adam Friedland's show. He was this left-wing comedian. Very fun. We had a great conversation. You can catch it on his YouTube channel. But one of the moments where the interview got kind of spicy is when he was really hitting me on the trans stuff. And he said, well, what do you care? Why do you care? I don't care about this. I said, oh, great. If you don't care, then cut it out. The left was the aggressor on this issue. They're the ones who forced the guys in the girls' bathrooms. They're the ones who forced the rainbow flags all over the public square. And so we responded to that. But if you're saying you don't care, oh, great, wonderful. Oh, then I guess we're in agreement. You don't care, so give it up. Shut up about the LGBT stuff. Get the stupid rainbow flags out of the streets. Get the men out of the girls' bathroom. Great, you don't care. Because you don't care, we do care about morality. So good, then I guess we're in agreement. They say, well, no, I mean, like, When I say, why do we care? I mean, Christians need to shut up is basically what the left is saying. They don't really mean it. What do you care? It's funny. Adam actually cut out part of the interview where we were talking about the transgender ideology. I said, do you think it's true? They said, well, I just don't care. I said, I didn't ask if you care. I asked if you think it's true. And they cut that part out of the interview because obviously people care. You should care. And also, I think most people on the left know that it isn't true. They know that the transgender thing is fake. They know a lot of the LGBT stuff is fake. But I don't know, the most charitable read I can give is they think it's nice. They think it's nice to lie to people. I think that's sincerely what most of them think. And so they say, stop making us answer questions of truth and falsehood. Can't you just be nice? Why do you care? It's like, well, you care a lot. And I think the truth is good and will set you free. And I think falsehood is bad. I think lying is bad. And I think it's disrespectful. And I think it leads you into misery. But one thing I think we should all be able to agree on is we all care. We all care. Go to armora.com/Knowles. We are living in a world that our bodies were not built for. EMFs, artificial light, seed oils, microplastics, endocrine disruptors, chronic stress. These modern threats are disrupting our cellular signaling, damaging our gut health, and accelerating aging from the inside out. But what if there were a way to revive your body's natural defenses? Armora colostrum is nature's first whole food, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at the cellular level to reactivate your body's innate capacity to regenerate and thrive. Unlike probiotics that only address one part of your gut wall, Armora colostrum fortifies your entire gut wall system, strengthens immune barriers throughout your mouth, sinuses, lungs, gut, and reproductive tract, while optimizing your microbiome and combating bloating. Plus, it ignites your metabolism by guarding against toxins that drive inflammation and slow you down. Are you ready to reclaim your health? You know, Mr. Davies swears by this stuff. Are you ready to look like a Giga Chad like him? We've worked out a special offer for our audience. 30% off your first subscription order. You go to armor.com/Knowles or enter Knowles, Knowles, to get 30% off at checkout. armra.com/Knowles, Knowles. But one thing I think we should all be able to agree on is we all care. We all care. And there will be some kind of moral framework for the law. So it's either going to be ours or it's going to be yours. And it doesn't even have to feel that personal because, that's kind of the way the left views it is. It's just factions vying for dominance over the other. That's not how I think about morality. I think the only way that we can come to, a peaceful resolution for the law is to think about the law as something objective that can be arrived at through reason. That is the premise of self-government. That is what our founding fathers thought and our framers thought. And so that's where this question about truth and falsehood comes from. Is it true? Let me just ask you, especially there are plenty of liberals and left-wingers who watch the show. Let me just ask you, do you really think, when we're talking about trans or whether we're talking about marriage, do you really think men and women are exactly the same? So similar that a union of two men is the exact same as the union of two women? Is the exact same as the union of a man and a woman? Do you really think that? Do you really? Well, I just don't care. I just want people to do whatever they. That's not what I asked. It's not what I asked. What do you think? It's just us gals. It's just you and me. Come on, it's just you and me. What do you think? You know it's not. You know it's not. Well, it doesn't mean that I want to enforce it in the lunch. Shh. It's okay. Hold on. You know it's not true. You know it's a lie. You think it's some kind of noble lie. You think it's some kind of comforting lie, but it's a lie nonetheless. Let's go further. Do you think it's good to enshrine lies into our laws? What do you think? I don't care. What do you think? No, probably not, right? Probably not. Well, what's the worst that could go wrong? Well, okay, here's one example. Christian parents who take in these orphans who no one else wants to take in, they're told they can't anymore because the state will discriminate against them and force them to stop being Christian if they want to keep their kids. That's like one example of how things go wrong when you enshrine lies into law. Women getting in bathrooms by men who are allowed to go in there. That's another thing that goes wrong when we enshrine lies into laws. Girls losing their scholarships and their trophies when we allow men to compete against them in sports and we pretend they're all the same. That's another thing that goes wrong. A mass increase in anxiety, depression, and suicidality as we encourage the LGBT LMNOP identity with a special focus on the T. That's another thing that goes wrong. Suicide rates remaining practically the same before and after the transgender procedures that destroy people's bodies. That's another thing that, need I go on? Need I go on? Because we could be here all day. I think most people know the truth. I think most people know, even if they don't want to admit it, like my left-wing comedian friend on that show in the part that was cut out. I know most people don't want to admit it. I think most people know that a man can't really be a woman. And most people know that there's something a little bit odd about, a couple of fellas or a couple of chicks. And it's a little bit weird, right? It's not, let's just say not exactly the same as a man and a woman. I think most people know that. The only question is, will you have the courage of your convictions to actually say the thing that you know to be true, and further, to behave that way in public and in politics and put that into the law? Put truth into the law instead of lies. Will you have the courage to do that? That's the question. Here's a little warning if your answer to that part is no. The other people will have the courage to put lies into the law. The other people will have the courage to try to force you to lie. The other people will have the courage, a dubious kind of courage, but a courage nonetheless, to force you to renounce your faith if you want to perform an act of charity. They will do it. So someone's going to do it. Is it going to be you on the side of the good stuff and the true stuff, or is it going to be the other side? But it's inevitable that there's going to be some moral framework in the law, because it's going to be inevitable that people care, because you're human beings and we're social creatures and we're inclined to live in society. So we care. That's how it works. That was a great clip. Now stop, ring the bell, subscribe. We'll see you next time.